Thank you for being here today and coming to our member benefit webinar. In April, we unveiled our new membership structure catered to serve the holistic needs of our community. The new structure included self-select tiers, access to community connection and resources, a deepened investment in professional development, and extended free or discounted benefits offered by our partners, which we have a couple here today. We're thrilled to have a fantastic lineup of member benefit partners as we start this exciting new chapter of the Guild. So whether you're here as a current member or you're considering joining, these are for you. And so each week, all the way up to June, we're highlighting one or two partners who will share tools, resources, and insights into different topics. And I think Precious is going to put our full lineup of member benefit partners on our website. And so today we have Joseph Arnold from Soulforce Arts Institute, and we have Rob Fields from Mighty Mighty. And so I'll let them in their perspective webinars give you a heavier introduction. And so I'm going to pass it to Joseph, who will start now, and then we'll see Rob at 1.
Great. Thank you, Lisette and Precious and everybody else. My name is Joseph Arnold, and I'm a violinist, Alexander Technique teacher, award-winning author, and director of the Soulforce Arts Institute. So I help musicians and other artists break through physical, emotional, and mental blocks to create more freely, to thrive creatively, and to build successful careers in the arts. And I am the National Guild's Somatic Wellness Service Provider. It's a mouthful, but very important. And today, I'm going to be talking about burnout, basically how to thrive under pressure. Burnout is a big problem for lots of people. It's epidemic in the arts sector, has been for a long time. And now, for reasons I'm sure you can all imagine, it's getting even harder, looming budget cuts, etc. And so my hope for today is to give you some unique insights into burnout, as well as an effective self-care tool that you can use right away to help reduce stress and burnout so you can get back to helping yourself, those you support, and the broader arts world thrive under pressure. So to me, this is such an important topic because my belief is that the world needs the arts now more than ever. And we can only play our most beneficial role as artists, arts educators, and arts admins when we're thriving, when we're not burning ourselves out. So the pressures are real, the challenges are real. How do we deal with them in a way where we're not drowning, drowning in stress and burnout, in a way that we're actually thriving? So I'm going to begin with a little intro, an overview of burnout, give you some of the top 6 triggers for burnout. And then I'm going to share, like I said, a very effective tool for dealing with this on your own. So first of all, show of hands. Who here has recently or is now struggling with burnout? Pretty much everybody. Right. It's a big issue. And so burnout is more than mere tiredness or frustration. It's a sort of ongoing issue characterized by exhaustion, cynicism, and a reduced sense of personal accomplishment. And I did a little research for this webinar, and I found this one researcher, Christina Maslach, who has this handy list of 6 triggers for burnout, and I'm going to put them in the chat right now. Chat, group chat, here we go. And I'm going to read through them slowly, and I want you to think about your own life and Think about which ones are present for you. Maybe there's one or two that's more prominent. And the reason this is really helpful is if you can identify which of the triggers are present for you, then it's much easier to address them. So here are the six triggers of burnout. A lack of control. So when you lack autonomy, when you lack ownership, when you lack creative expression, that's what a lack of control that can lead to burnout. So number two is values conflict, when your values and that of your organization conflict. When you have insufficient reward, when you're going under recognized, underappreciated, undercompensated. Number four is work overload, when there's too much work or it's happening too fast, it's too complex, too urgent. Number five is unfairness, a culture of favoritism or a lack of fairness in the workplace. And number six is a breakdown of community, working with unsupportive or low performing colleagues. So just take a moment, I'll read through them briefly, just name each one again, and just notice which one applies to you. And actually, maybe let's share in the chat. So here they are again: lack of control, values conflict, insufficient reward, work overload, unfairness, and a breakdown in community. Which one applies to you the most? Number one and number two. Number four, work overload. I can relate with that one. Huh. So fun, having fun, but also overload. Yeah. Okay, work overload. That's a popular one. That's very common. Okay, great. So the first thing I'll offer today is just understanding these six triggers, again, can help you maybe come up with creative, constructive solutions. Because if you can identify the specific area, maybe the specific relationship or the specific problem, then you can come up with solutions that are going to help you. So there are lots of ways of reversing burnout, and coming up with specific solutions for each of these six triggers is a really great start. There's also general self-care kinds of things. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating whole foods? Are you getting exercise? And are you getting enough rest and play in your life? One of the times I've been burnt out, there are all kinds of self-care hacks that I know about and that I use regularly, but really there's no replacement for just getting enough rest, time just doing nothing. Instead of always being so task oriented. And of course, there's a time and a place for where that works really well. But if that's the only thing you do, like the old saying, all work and no play, that's a sure path to burnout. So getting enough rest and play, very important. And for me, the top intervention that really helps me with burnout is reducing stress. And this is really important for a lot of us. So stress reduction is an area where I see most people in my life and most people in the arts really struggling. And that's going to be our focus for the exercise today. So again, show of hands, who here has ever struggled with stress reduction? Right? Yeah. So that's a really common one. Everybody knows too much stress is bad for long-term health outcomes, bad for short-term well-being and performance and all that kind of thing. But how do you actually reduce stress? Right? There are more things out in the world than we used to have around reducing stress, and I've tried a lot of them. And this is where my own journey maybe comes into focus here, or relevance for this workshop. So I've struggled with injuries as a violinist and performance anxiety and burnout and many other things besides. And this has led to a lifelong study of all kinds of health and wellness modalities, including the Alexander technique, and which is something that I teach, and all kinds of peak performance psychology and mind body wellness, meditation retreats and cold exposure and all kinds of things. I've done it all. And so one of the gifts that I bring to my teaching is, having experienced all this, I can make the path much easier for you. So just give you the ones that are most impactful and most effective. So today I'm going to be sharing one of those with you, and I call it an exposure therapy meditation. So, so the exposure therapy meditation, maybe I can come up with a better term for it, but that sort of gets to what we're going to be getting into today. It's probably the most effective and simplest tool that I've ever found for reducing stress around certain areas of my life. And it's just so simple. You can do it on your own. Only takes like 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And I've used this countless times myself. I taught a workshop recently on performance anxiety, and it helped reduce all the participants' performance anxiety, the stage fright. So it's very widely applicable. It can work for issues of interpersonal relationships that maybe aren't working so well. It can work with the burnout. It can work with anxiety and grief and all kinds of things that might be going on in your life. So I'm gonna give you an experience of that today. So as far as an introduction to this, so this is not therapy. So I'm calling it exposure therapy, but we're not doing therapy right now. This is just an exercise inspired by that concept. Exposure therapy is the idea that if you can get comfortable with, at first, a little tiny bit of what you're afraid of, and then just a little tiny bit more, and then a little bit tiny bit more, pretty soon you can handle what before you thought was unhandleable. Right? So this is really common. It's very, very effective. And so the meditation I'm going to share with you, I'm going to guide you through it today, is a version of that you can do on your own in the comfort of your own home. And so one thing I'll say before we get into the actual experience is that this can be challenging for some, because it involves moving towards things that might be uncomfortable for you. And so just have that in mind. You get to choose how far you get to go into this. And if it's too much for you, just stop. There's no pressure. And at the very same time, so first of all, you have total agency in this, total responsibility for yourself. And at the very same time, I'm going to challenge you to go beyond your comfort zone a little bit and try something new. Maybe experience a little bit of discomfort in this meditation, because if you do so, the rewards are immense. I've seen people with really intense anxieties around certain things, for example, reduce those anxieties within a couple of minutes, and then it's just gone. So what the rewards here are pretty big for some minor discomfort that you might go through in this meditation. So again, it's up to you. So the basic process is, first we're going to think about the situation that's causing you burnout or undue stress. And then we're going to rate that on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being neutral or even pleasant, and 10 being the worst, misery. And we'll put that in the chat to begin with. And then we're going to go through a process of focusing on that stressor and then just relaxing. And I'll count backwards from 10. I'll give you some guidance on relaxing with that. And then we're going to repeat that process, rating it again, going into the stressor, relaxing. And it sounds maybe too simple to be effective, but its effectiveness lies in that simplicity of going into the stressor and then relaxing, going into it and then relaxing, going back and forth. It works very, very well. So we're going to do several rounds of that. I don't know if we'll have enough time to Well, we're doing pretty well on time. We'll see how many rounds we do, but so it's possible that we'll bring your charge all the way down to a zero, and if not, you'll know the process. It's so simple, you'll be able to do it on your own and get yourself the rest of the way. And then after we do that, we'll have some um, time for Q&A, and then finally I'll share some of my offerings as a service provider for the guild. All right, so
So,
yes,
oh,
any questions, comments before we get into it?
could you repeat slightly the instructions? We had someone come in a little bit later.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yes, and I will be going through step by step. So basically, this is a exposure therapy meditation for reducing stress and burnout around any particular situation that is coming up for you. And we're going to go through a series of steps. First, identifying the situation, rating the charge, the current emotional charge in your body, how intense it is on a scale of 0 to 10. And then going into the charge just a little bit, I'll give specific instructions on that. And then just relaxing, and I'll give instructions on that. And then we're going to repeat that process a few times. And the idea is that that very simple process can very quickly reduce the amount of emotional charge and discomfort that you have around a situation. And by reducing that stress and having that tool available to you to really be able to use in any situation in your life, you can help yourself reduce stress. And that by itself will be such a huge aid in reducing burnout. You'll be able to yeah, react or let's say respond rather than react to the stressors in your life, which is going to make a huge difference. Okay, any other questions before we get started? Okay, yeah, you're welcome, Hillary. Okay, here we go. So, first, I invite you to choose a situation in your life where you're getting burnt out or more stressed than you'd like to. Just go with whatever is coming up first. And and then what we're going to do is, if it's comfortable for you, you can close your eyes, and as you think about that situation, notice the emotional charge in your body. So what do I mean by that? Like specifically, there might be like a clenching in your heart or your gut or your shoulders, or there might be feeling of anxiety or sadness or anger or something somewhere in your body. So just notice whatever that is and rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being neutral or even pleasant, and 10 being the most miserable experience possible. And once you've given it a number, just take your best guess and put that number in the chat so we have a starting place. All right, we have a 7. We have a 5/6. Another 7. A 6. Okay, good. Another 7. Great. So that's going to be our starting place. And I'm gonna ask you to rate it again a couple of times, but we won't put it in the chat. We'll just say that for the end. Okay, so now, again, closing your eyes if that's comfortable. And I'm gonna ask you to focus on the worst part of this situation, the worst part of that charge, so that the emotional charge intensifies a little bit. And once you focus on that for just a couple seconds, then you relax. You let the whole thing go. You soften your body, let it all go. And I'm going to count backwards from 10 as you let it go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then bring that same situation to mind again. And again, rate the charge. Notice if it's changed, the emotional charge in your body. And just make note of that for yourself. Give it a number. Once you've done that, we'll just repeat, repeat the process. So again, focusing on the worst part of that situation. What's the worst part of that, the emotional charge that you have around it? Just for a few seconds, intensifying that charge in your body. And then relax. Let it go. Soften. And I'll count backwards from 10 again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And again, notice the situation. Bring it to mind and rate the charge 0 to 10 just for yourself, noticing if there's been any change. And then if it's not yet at a 0, you can continue with us. We'll do this a few more times. Focusing on the worst part of the situation, the worst part of the charge inside your body. And seeing if you can intensify that charge. Going into it rather than avoiding it. And then relax. Let it go completely. Soften your body. Let it go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, then bringing up that same situation. Noticing what's left of the charge. Maybe it's gone away, maybe there's still there a little bit. We're going to go through the process one more time. So if there's still some of that charge left, focus on that. Focus on the worst part of that charge, the worst part of that situation. See if you can intensify that charge, going into it just for a couple seconds, and then relax. Let it go. Let the situation go entirely. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, and then for the last time, just notice the situation again. Notice the situation and rate the charge, 0 to 10, 0 being neutral, 10 being the worst misery. And why don't you write your charge in the chat again, so we can all see the difference. All right, we have a 3. Great. 4, great. So reduction, 5. 5, okay. So it seems like reductions all around. Maybe, yeah, I think we have some time. So how about this? Let's have any questions that are coming up right now. You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask. And if it's appropriate, then maybe we'll do a couple more rounds, see if we can reduce the charge even more. So are there any questions coming up about this process, about what you're noticing?
This is not a question, but oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
okay. Thank you. So I just was starting to spin around with after I thought of one situation, I'm thinking of the other one and then another
I
one.
see.
Like it
I
was
see.
sort of building on each other.
Yes.
So with your help, I focused again, refocused,
Great.
refocused.
Great.
But it did
Yes.
help me notice, what's really bothering me. Like
Ah,
into the what took priority, what was
yes.
dominant than other things, which I might have started off with something that wasn't as troublesome as
Yeah.
what it turned into. And then I worked on that one.
Perfect. Great noticing. Okay. So that's very common. So you're working with one thing and other things come up. I mean, our lives are all interconnected, right? So one issue is, tied to another issue, is tied to another issue. It's very common. As far as the effectiveness of this process, I would definitely recommend choosing one thing and reducing it as much as you can. And then the next time, choose one thing, reduce it as much as you can. Wandering about from one thing to another, probably not a good idea. And it sounds like you chose one thing and you stuck with it, which is great. All right. Yeah. Did you have something else to share?
Oh, I was just gonna say, eventually I did focus on the one thing because I
That's
wanted to
excellent.
wanted to experience this the right way. So
Yes, excellent. Great. Anything else?
I think for me, I realized as I had to go deeper and deeper that
Mm.
I started to like, I started realizing I'm having anxiety around things that haven't happened. Um,
Mm.
and especially
Yeah.
because through the exercise, I had to go deeper and deeper into the problem. So then eventually I had to start, um, like realizing a lot of it was like anxiety from it, not from like something that is currently happening, but more of
Hmm. Yeah.
things that could happen.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, so then that helped me like
Yeah.
rethink the stressor.
Yes. That's great. Great. Yeah. So you're definitely going to get insights as you do this. Oh, what's connected to this? And what is the real nature of this or that stressor? That's really great. And it looks like Hillary has a question, so I'll get to that in just a second. Um, yeah, and as far as anxiety, what I've heard is that anxiety is generally about the future, what's going to happen, and grief and sometimes anger are about the past. So that's really common, and this process works well for things that have happened or are currently happening or have yet to happen. It works equally well. All right, so Hillary, I saw you had a question. Okay, so you can't unmute, so I'll just read your question. Um, Here we go. She says, I wonder about the speed of the process. It felt fast for me, but I wonder if that's intentional and part of the process. Would it also work at a slower pace given more time? Yeah, this is a matter of experimentation for you. So I've, yeah, so you will know what's best for you. And I would also say that doing this at a let's say, andante tempo, so walking pace tempo, not too fast, not too slow, is probably best. Um, Especially if you're working with a really strong emotional charge. That period where you're focusing on the worst part of that and intensifying that, it doesn't actually make it better to necessarily wallow in that, to really focus on it for longer periods of time. In fact, that can, um, given the situation, it can heighten things too much and then leave you with kind of a hangover afterwards, so to speak, where you're still feeling really activated by the situation. So it's best to use a light touch, I find. That being said, feel free to experiment. You find out where your boundaries are, find out what works best for you. Okay, so let's do just a couple more rounds of this and see if we can get those charges further down, and then we'll have time for more questions and give you some homework based on what you can do with this particular activity on your own. Okay, so bringing to mind that same situation and rating that charge on a scale of 0 to 10 for yourself. And then focusing on the worst part of that situation. Letting the charge intensify in your body just for a few seconds. And then let go. Relax. Soften your body. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Bringing the situation to mind again, noticing if the charge has changed, rating the intensity for yourself, and then if it's not yet at a 0, focusing on the worst part of that situation. Let yourself feel it. Have courage. It's probably not as bad as you think. Letting yourself feel the worst part of that situation. And then relax. Let go. Soften. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Focusing on the situation again, noticing if anything's changed. Rate the charge on a scale of 0 to 10. And then again, focusing on the worst part of it. Are there any aspects of the worst part that you haven't let yourself feel yet? And if so, it's up to you, but I invite you to let yourself feel it just for a couple seconds. And then let it all go. Just relax. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Noticing the situation, rating the charge, and we'll go through the process one more time. So if there's any charge left, focus on the worst part of it so that the charge intensifies. And then let go. Let it all go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And final time, noticing the situation, rating the charge 0 to 10. And why don't you put that number in the chat one more time? All right, got it down to a 3. That's great. Okay. Well, great. A 2. Perfect. So, good. Look at that. In a space of, what, 10 or 15 minutes, a significant reduction. And I bet if you were to do this for another 10 minutes or so on your own, then it might reduce it even more. So here's a question from Hillary. I wonder about this. No, you already said that. Okay, was having trouble focusing that round, so I think it was still at a 5. Okay, well, it sounds like you have other things going on in your environment, kids shouting around you. So yeah, that's an important thing. One of the keys about relaxing, for instance, is simply setting up the conditions for yourself to do so. You can't force yourself to relax, but you can set up certain conditions, such as having a quiet environment and letting the people around you know not to disturb you, etc. So that does play an important role in this process. Okay, so here are some thoughts about how to practice this, how to integrate this into your life. Well, first, actually, I'll share a little anecdote from some actors that I've met. I've talked to them about their process. And so sometimes as an actor, you're called upon to cry up on stage. And one of the techniques for doing this is to focus on painful things that have happened. Make them really real for yourself up on stage so that you can elicit the tears. And what I hear from actors is that when they do this enough times, that original memory, that painful memory, no longer elicits the tears anymore. So they have to find a new memory to go to. And so, in a sense, that's kind of what we're doing here. Many of us spend our lives avoiding painful things. And of course, that makes sense. But there are ways in which avoiding can lead to more pain. This is what we call suffering. Pain is distinct from suffering. Suffering is simply, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Suffering is resisting pain, or really any experience. And so when you stop resisting your pain, the suffering goes down, and often the pain goes down as a result as well. So by going into the pain through this experience, and then giving yourself a release valve through letting it all go, through relaxing and kind of distracting yourself by counting backwards from 10, then you can balance out the process and not get too wallowed, too drowning in your troubles. You go back and forth, and that can help really help balance out the situation. So yeah, and eventually reduce the charge entirely. It is possible. So how to practice this? I would suggest doing this daily. No matter how busy you are, you have 5 minutes. And I'm going to suggest that right now you think about a time tomorrow when you know that you'll have 5 minutes. Whenever that time is for you. 5 minutes of quiet. Choose that time. Think about where you're going to be, what time it's going to be. Write it down right now. Make an agreement with yourself. I'm going to spend 5 minutes doing this exposure therapy meditation. All right, keep yourself accountable. If you need an accountability buddy, you can email me. All right, if that's helpful for you. And I'll give you a big thumbs up when you do it, or ask you some questions about if you didn't do it. So it's really helpful if you do this. It's not something you fit in. Your well-being is too important to just fit in among all the stressors of your life. So make a deliberate practice of this or other practices. And if you want to learn more about other practices, I'll share more about how you can do that in a minute. I have tons of them to share, but you can do 5 minutes. And just see what happens. Do it 5 minutes a day for a week. I bet you'll notice a big difference. And so just think about just the past couple minutes, past 10, 15 minutes, we've been working on this, reduce the charge this much. If you were to do that every single day, the results of that compound over time. And so within a week, you'll be feeling, a certain amount less stressed out, less burnt out. Within a month, even less. And within several months, you're going to be walking on air. It really can be like that. You can really change your life with a simple practice like this. Okay, so before I get into my final words, are there any other questions or comments or concerns about this or related topics?
I do have a question. So let's say I did 5 minutes every day this week.
Yep.
Would I pick the same situation, even if on Monday it went to 0 or
Oh,
close to it? Do I pick the same situation to compound it, or should I new one?
Oh, great question. If it's at zero and it stays at zero, move on.
Just that one day of zero.
Yeah, it can be enough.
Okay.
And if it doesn't feel like a zero afterwards, it could be that you didn't actually get it all the way to zero, or it could be that there are closely related issues that still have a charge. So experiment. If it gets to zero, trust it and move on. And if it's still stressing you out later on, just do it again.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Makes
yeah.
sense.
Great. Any other questions? All right. Well, I will assume that you are all enlightened masters at this point then. And I have a lot to learn from you then. Good. All right. So, final few words here. Why is this all so important? So, I believe, again, maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't, but I believe that the world needs the arts and artists more than ever right now. And sometimes when I hear people say that, there's a part of me that goes, yeah, and another part that rolls my eyes. But I actually wrote a whole book about this called Soulforce: How to Discover Your Artistic Purpose, Create More Freely, and Make Art That Matters. So I have a lot to say on this topic. I'll keep it brief right now. But basically, you know, the world needs our creative gifts. This is what's going to bring peace and healing. Think about all the political divides. What can reach beyond all the emotional armoring and polarization and misunderstandings more than music, for instance? Like a single song can bring people together from all walks of life. And music and art so often get dismissed as frivolous. But what if these were the only things that could really help right now? My belief is that they can, if we're creating from a place of flourishing, of thriving in ourselves. Our art reflects who we are, our state of being. And if we're suffering, then our art's going to reflect that. If we're thriving, our art's going to reflect that. And so this is why this is so important to me. So I specialize in helping artists, musicians thrive, even in really difficult circumstances, releasing physical blocks like injuries and tension, and emotional blocks like burnout and performance anxiety, mental blocks, limiting beliefs, spiritual blocks like, does my art even matter in today's world? Right? So I help people navigate that. And it's so important to do that. So as the Guild's somatic wellness service provider, I'm dedicated to helping artists and musicians of all kinds, arts educators, arts admins, thrive under pressure so that we can create the kind of art and train the kind of artists that the world needs right now. Those who can bring more life and peace and joy and harmony into the world. This is my mission and the mission of my Soulforce Arts Institute. So as a part of your guild membership benefits, I'm offering discounted packages on individual and organization-wide sessions. So this include sessions with me on site or virtually, as well as videos that I've created, video courses, and my book, and other things besides. And then, so starting on July 1st, when all the membership benefits go into effect, then you can start getting some discounts. So the base discount is 25% off for the individual and organizational offerings here. And if the first 10 people who sign up before September 30th, get an additional 25% off. So that's 50% off. So be sure to sign up before September 30th. And if you want to learn more about all this, you want to get in touch with me, you can do so through my website, soulforcearts.com, or my email address, joseph@soulforcearts.com. You can show the final slide there that has my info on it. There we go. Or you can reach out to me, yeah, through my phone number, 202-304-9728. Okay, look at that. We're ending right on time. Aren't I so great? I hope we found that helpful. If you have any questions about that process or anything else, please reach out to me, Joseph@soulforcearts.com. I'd be delighted to hear from you.